Hi everyone, Kaylie Shapiro here with NYRA Bets, joined by Nick Zito today. Hi Mr. Zito, how are you?
Good, Kaylee. How are you? How's everybody there?
I'm great,
Cold,
thank you.
huh? Cold,
Yeah,
right?
very cold. Thank you so much for joining us today.
It's my pleasure.
So this week is Cigar Mile Week at Aqueduct, which also means it's Remsen Week. And I thought no better time to talk to Hall of Fame trainer Nick Zito, who has had tons of success with this race. Actually, this year is the 25-year anniversary of you winning with Greenwood Lake. And you also won this race with Go for Gin, who went on to win the Kentucky Derby as well. So I'm just curious, what makes the Remsen such an important prep race for these horses that have Derby and Triple Crown aspirations?
Well, I think one of the things is it's a mile and an eighth, and for a
Mm-hmm.
young horse, that certainly gives him like a little boost there. If he can handle the distance, it'll make everyone know that with their connections. Hey, you know what? I got a horse that just won a mile and an eighth, 2 turns, famous racetrack, Aqueduct racetrack for years and years and years and years, and it'll set him up pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, go ahead.
So what did you learn about these horses, Greenwood Lake and Go for Gin, with their Remsen efforts? Did anything in their performance surprise you, or did it kind of just reaffirm what you had already thought about these
It
horses?
probably reaffirmed it. And at that time, I was a little disappointed because I had run Greenwood Lake. He had won the Champagne. And
Mm-hmm.
when he won the Remsen, I said, gee, we got a great chance because he was very consistent. He wasn't out of the money and he was, wonderful record. And I said, man, I have a chance to win the championship because he won the Champagne and the Remsen in that
Mm-hmm.
time. And yet the horse that won the Breeders' Cup came to Florida. We didn't run, so they gave it to him, and he wasn't as good as Greenwood Lake. But
Mm-hmm.
the Remsen is a tremendous race, and I was happy. He sometimes from 2 to 3, as you know, they don't pan out as much. But I
Mm-hmm.
was still happy that he had that Remsen on his record.
Mm-hmm.
And Go for
And
Gin. Good. I'm sorry, that was another.
no, go ahead.
Go for Gin was like, yeah, it's one thing about it. You might have to stop me because I'll get going. I'll keep talking. But like
No,
with
you
Go
could
for
keep
Gin,
talking however
uh,
long.
well, with Go for Gin, that was pretty good because I knew, after he won the Remsen, I said, hey, we got a pretty nice 2-year-old turning 3, and he did. He panned out extremely well, and very happy about that. And I've been doing this even as young as you are now, and I'm glad you're in this business. It's so wonderful. NYRA has people like you. And what happened was I used to watch all these great horses
Mhm.
as a teenager win the Remsen. Famous horses won the Remsen. If you go
Oh.
back and the fans, people that want to look at the history of
Mhm.
NYRA and Aqueduct, and they see who won the Remsen, they'll fall on the floor. And then the
Mhm.
last few years, how good it's been. Horses that are running it. I mean, just to mention a few, it's
Mhm.
unbelievable. You know,
Absolutely. Last year, especially, I know Danny Gargan was your
yeah,
assistant, and
yes.
he won last year with Dornoch and the Remsen, who went on to win the Belmont Stakes and the Haskell. So obviously,
Yeah.
it's a very
Look who
important
was
race.
second in the race, right? Who was
Hmm?
second in there? Who was second in
Sierra
that race?
Leone, right?
Come
Who just
on.
won the,
So
yeah.
you want bigger hype than that? The Remsen is a
Hmm.
quality, incredible race.
Hmm.
Incredible race.
Absolutely. And just in general with these horses, when you have a horse like Greenwood Lake or Go for Gin, what moment do you really know that you have a true Kentucky Derby Triple Crown contender on your hands?
Well, the development, obviously. I mean, Greenwood Lake didn't pan out. He just had some issues that weren't going to let him go through it. Go for Jim was smooth. He had a
Hmm.
really good winter and he had a really good summer and everything, and he panned out well. And he won the Derby and he finished second in the Preakness and he finished second in the Belmont.
Hmm.
So he was really good. He just panned out, but. And there's a lot of luck involved. Josie Carroll's a trainer here at Palmetto. She asked me she might have a Derby horse. And I said, Josie, one of the things you got to have is a lot of good days. A lot of good
Hmm.
days from 2 to 3.
Absolutely. We see even horses change a lot from their debut when they're two towards the end of the year when they're two, some more precocious than others.
Yes.
So really interesting to follow the development of these horses. And I think it's a really exciting group of 2-year-olds this year as well. So,
Yeah.
and, just someone that reads a lot about the history of racing. And I know that you're a part of that famous trio of Dwayne Lukas and Bob Baffert. And you guys competed against trainers like Woody Stevens, Mac Miller, Alan Jerkins. I'm just wondering what was it like to compete against trainers like that? How much
Oh, it was incredible. It was incredible, especially Lukas and Baffert, and of course Woody
Mhm.
Stevens. Uh, I'm here at Palm Meadows. That was Billy Badgett's mentor. Runs Palm Meadows, does a great job. But Woody was incredible. But Baffert and Lukas, for me, I was with them, all the time. I had plenty of horses in the Derby competing against them, Preakness, Belmont. It was exciting. And somebody made me laugh the other day because they had a blood horse cover of the three of us. And it sold for, I think, $165. So that's not too bad. That wasn't too bad.
Wow.
On eBay, that wasn't too bad.
Wow.
But no, those guys were really great. Wayne, especially, and Bob. Geez, what could I say about him? I knew he was going to be a force in the game. I just knew it. I could tell.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
that was exciting days for me, and I really liked it, and I knew it was special. And Woody, I'm glad you brought him up because you know what, Kaylie, one of the great records in racing will never ever be duplicated again, ever.
Mhm.
I'll tell you what it
Mhm.
is. The Belmont Stakes, Woody Stevens winning the Belmont Stakes 5 times in a row. And of course, he won them, Remsen, I'm sure, plenty of horses. But think about that. How could someone win the Belmont 5 years in a row? Ready for this? What I think 36 stalls. How's that for a
Wow.
record? That's like Joe
Wow.
DiMaggio's record. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
that's
Wow.
incredible. And NYRA ought to do something about that. Say, post that record. That's one of the, like when Belmont comes around this year, hey, should be that record is there. Who's going to try to at least emulate it? You got a lot of young trainers with a lot of horses. So that might be something, that might be a goal, you know?
Mhm.
That
Mhm.
might be a goal for NYRA
Absolutely.
to put out.
Absolutely. So I know that obviously you've had tons of impressive 2-year-olds, lots of Derby contenders, horses that won the Derby, ran in the Derby. I'm just wondering, have there been any horses that you've trained that have really surprised you with their development from 2 to 3, or even just throughout their 2-year-old year? Maybe some
Well,
stories about.
it's funny you said that. I think Icebox, and he actually had a terrible trip in the Kentucky Derby. Could have won it. He came around. All of a sudden, the light bulb went on. He won racing at Gulfstream Park, and he won the Florida Derby. And boy, he should have probably won the Derby. Super Saver came up on the inside. That was Todd Pletcher's first Derby winner, and he got stopped cold. And but he surprised me. He surprised me. He turned from, but most of them, Warpass was a great 2-year-old. He won. Dialed In
Hmm.
was a special horse. I had,
Hmm.
as you say, so many good ones. I was so blessed to have horses to run in the Derby a lot of times, put it that way. So,
Hmm.
but that's probably one of the horses that really surprised me. That really, the light bulb went on, and he made it. He almost made it.
So it's funny that you mentioned Warpass. I was reading about him. He won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile at Monmouth
Yeah.
Park in 2007. He was champion 2-year-old. So that was a horse that you pointed towards the Breeders' Cup rather than the Remsen. Was there a reason behind that horse specifically? Was he just, ready
Well,
earlier?
he was so talented, and I knew,
Mhm.
and Mr. LaPenta and I knew if he won that, he would be champion, and he was champion easy. He was like a unanimous choice. He was incredible 2-year-old, and he won a race called the Champagne too. So we can't forget that. That's a, you
Mhm.
know, that
Mhm.
that's a New York racing. That's a famous race, and he was one.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm not sure how close you've been following the current 2-year-old crop, but
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if, there are any horses that you're really excited about that you think can make some noise next year. Maybe any horses in the Remsen. I know a horse for me I'm pretty excited about is Bill Mott's horse Sovereignty, who won the Street Sense. That's the horse I have my eye on as a 3-year-old. I was wondering if there are any that really excited you, any performances that you've
Well, for
seen.
me, it's the Fitzpatrick horse. You know, Chad
Oh,
Brown has.
Chancer.
Yeah, I think he's the. I don't know what happened in the Breeders' Cup. Sometimes you put a line with these 2-year-olds. You don't know
Mm-hmm.
what foot goes which way. But boy, that horse was pretty impressive to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I would pick him. He would be my choice. If someone said, "Hey, which one you want?" I would take him in a heartbeat. I
Mm-hmm.
think
Absolutely.
he's impressive.
Mm-hmm. And it's obviously a really big week at Aqueduct this week. And obviously, everyone at NYRA and everyone here in New York, we're really excited about the reconstruction of Belmont Park. But obviously, really want to celebrate, Aqueduct and the Remsen, the history of Aqueduct. Just wondering if you have any particular favorite memories from Aqueduct and wondering what you think makes this track so special as well.
Well, a lot of people need to know, Kaylie, that just about every great horse that ever ran at Aqueduct.
Mm-hmm.
That's how historic that track was,
Mm-hmm.
and all the great horses ran there. I was privileged to win 3 Wood Memorials, and you look at all the horses that won the Wood over the years. They're Hall of Fame names. They're classic horses that ran at Aqueduct. And one of the things that people don't know, this is before OTB and everything, and before the internet, and before you could bet on your phone. If you went to Aqueduct, you had to put your paper to get a seat. There used to be 60,000 people. I watched Kelso run there as a teenager. Gumbo, it was incredible. The track that that they had, it was incredible. All the great horses ran there. I've seen them all. I've seen every great horse run there. So many. Kelso, Gumbo. Oh my God, you can't even count how many. Damascus, so many great horses. I've been doing this since as they say, a teenager. I've been doing this for a long, long time, but I've watched a lot of great horses, and those are good memories for me. Those are good memories for me. A lot of great horses ran at Aqueduct.
So cool to hear those memories. I know walking into work every day at Aqueduct, I just, think about all the history that took place there before I was even born, and I just think it's
Yeah,
incredible.
another thing, Glenn will tell you, Glenn Kozak will tell you, Glenn Masters was a former publicity guy for NYRA. That's how far back I go. But Glenn Kozak will tell you what a great track Aqueduct was for years, circus-wise. One of the best. One of the best. It's sad, but time marches on. But it was some great memories. There's no question. And like I said, I was fortunate enough to win a few Wood Memorials, 3 of them. I sound like Woody Stevens. They used to, Woody Stevens had this great line. How many times did you win this race? So I was at a place the other day. I was having a drink, and the guy said, "Hey, did you ever win the champagne?" I said, 5 times. So I'm like Woody Stevens, Wood Memorial 3, the Champagne 5, the Travis,
Absolutely.
the Belmont, a couple times. But Aqueduct, it's sad because people don't know. They see the Aqueduct now. When Aqueduct was, I was fortunate. I was a teenager. I used to jump the fence, and it was beautiful. It was great. It was incredible, and there was so many fans. But times change. Things change. So I just hope racing hangs in there. And I know NYRA do a good job. I like the NYRA Bets, and give a shout out to all of them that do NYRA Bets. Those are my friends. They do a great job. You know who they are. Some of them are characters, but you know who they are. Tell them I all said hello, but it's great talking to you.
And I think it's really exciting. I get really excited for days like, the Cigar Mile, the Remsen, because I think the track really, comes to life, and you can reminisce on all the great days. And, the great days are even today still happening at Aqueduct, like we talked about last year with the Remsen.
Listen, technology, new way of thinking is all great. Sometimes, you got the world at your fingertips, the good and the bad, but we're not as smart as we used to be. However, it's good that you're celebrating the Cigar Mile and Week and the Remsen and things like that. So people need to know a little bit about that.
Absolutely. And obviously, I just want to ask you for a piece of advice to the bettors out there. I know me personally, I get really excited about 2-year-olds, right after their debut or, after they win their first stakes. And I get maybe too ahead of myself sometimes looking at these 2-year-olds and predicting, what they could do next. But I'm just wondering if you have any advice for bettors going into handicap the Remsen, how to approach looking at these 2-year-olds and thinking about, which ones can maybe peak here, which ones can maybe regress off their last effort.
I think the best advice you could give a bettor for the Remsen is to, they don't have to be Federico Tessio, who is a great breeder, but they need to know a little bit about breeding, especially going a distance of ground. Not many 2-year-olds are going to go 1.125 miles. Not many.
Mm-hmm.
So you might catch a flyer. Mott has Bill Mott has a terrific horse, as you said, but there might be a horse in there with some sneaky breeding that may fool you.
Absolutely. So I was just wondering.
My advice for them: just take a look at the pedigree.
Take a look at the pedigree.
Take a look at grandma too. The mother.
Mm-hmm.
Take a look at the mother and the grandma.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I know that's a little research to do, but it's not that hard.
With the tools we have nowadays, it's.
Oh, don't tell me about them. Here's what I got. There's my tool, flip phone. But I'm going to get one. Don't worry. I'm going out and I'm going to get for Christmas a Samsung flip phone. A Samsung flip phone, so I can catch all my NYRA bets. And I got to get you to fix my password, okay?
Yes, I can fix that for you. It was so great talking about the history of the Remsen, all the great horses that you've trained, and I'm absolutely honored to have interviewed you today.
It's my pleasure, and give a shout out to your president. He's my buddy, and your vice president, and they're good people. So Andrew and of course David's, they're my friends, and everybody in NYRA, they're still my friends. I love them.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining me today, Mr. Zito.
Right back to you, Kaylie. Thank you.
Thank you.